Hey there. My name's Matthew, and I'm the pastor of Grace Lutheran Church in Boulder, Colorado. This is the first of what will likely be a pandemic era series of video devotions or reflections or something like that, where I take some time and reflect some on the psalm that the lectionary gives us for the coming Sunday, which this week is Psalm 138. And also where I think through some of the implications of church life in this era of pandemicking and physical distancing. It's a different sort of a time in the life of a church, perhaps, at least in one way, not dissimilar to Israel's life of exile in Babylon. Not in every way, obviously, but see, during that exile, Israel had to learn how to worship in a different way, in a way that allowed them to worship God even though they weren't in or close to the temple in Jerusalem. So they had to revamp their worship life, and it seems to me like we're having to revamp our worship life these days as well. The church today is learning how to worship in new ways, and I might think some about that reality while I talk about some about a psalm on a video that you get to watch on your cell phone or your computer or something like that in the comfort of your own home. I'm also, as you can tell, going to play some music at the beginning, and you might not know, but I'll play some music at the end, and you're going to recognize that I'm not really very good, and it's going to be okay with all of us because music is, in some ways, the voice of God in our hearts, I would think. So anyway, on to Psalm 138 for this week. Psalm 138. I give you thanks, O Lord, with my whole heart. Before the gods I sing your praise. I bow down toward your holy temple and give thanks to your name for your steadfast love and your faithfulness, for you have exalted your name and your word above everything. On the day I called you, you answered me, you increased my strength of soul. All the kings of the earth shall praise you, O Lord, for they have heard the words of your mouth. They shall sing of the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. For though the Lord is high, he regards the lowly, but the haughty God perceives from far away. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve me against the wrath of my enemies. You stretch out your hand, and your right hand delivers me. The Lord will fulfill God's purpose for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands. So there's a lot of thanksgiving in this psalm. Did you notice that? If not, go take a look. There's a lot of thanksgiving in there, and I gotta tell you, when I think of Thanksgiving, I think of, at least sometimes I think about having to write those thank you notes when I was a kid. Do you remember those? Maybe you still write them. I probably have some that I have to write even this weekend. I guess I should get to that. But today, just like when I was a kid, I'm not a huge fan of writing those. Don't think I'm alone in that feeling, but I wasn't particularly a fan of having to sit down and go about what I felt to be the tedious activity of writing a thank you note. I feel differently about it now. Let me just say that for the record. Now, I'm no Hebrew scholar, but somebody who is said that giving thanks Hebrew Bible style is less about mustering up a feeling of gratitude and more about writing God a thank you note. More about an actual expression of thanks than a feeling that we come up with. Did I mention that I didn't like writing thank you notes when I was little? I'm not sure how I feel about giving thanks to God being like a thank you note. I found it to be a tedious activity that didn't do me any good at all when I was a kid. Which I think is mostly accurate and appropriate, it seems to me, because writing a thank you note isn't about me. The thank you notes I wrote when I was a kid were not for me, but they were for my grandmother, my aunt, my uncles, my whoever had given me something, the kids that came to the birthday parties that I had. It was about them, not about me. It's not supposed to do me any good. The point is that the person receiving the note receives the note and hears my gratitude. Even if I didn't actually experience feelings of thankfulness when I was writing it. So if the Hebrew Bible thanksgiving is less about a feeling and more about a doing, it begs the question then, doesn't it? What thank you note does God want us to send? Seems to me the thank you note God's interested in receiving is that we tell others what God has done for us. So we look at our lives and recognize that there is good and share that news with the world around us. It's obviously hard to do sometimes. I mean, we think about now and we're pandemicking, and it's hard to think about, well, what do I have to be thankful for? I can't go about my life the way I want to. It's hard to do sometimes, especially when things aren't pleasant or happy in our life. I'm not trying to gloss over the tough things. I mean, the psalmists certainly don't gloss over the tough things. All the way through the Psalms, we see lament and we see acknowledgement of and complaints about the things that are struggles in life. But the thing is that the psalmists recognize is that in the midst of those struggles, God is truly present, even, or maybe especially, in the midst of the difficulties. And in the midst of the struggles, the psalmist reminds us to continue to trust in God, because God continues to do good things in the world.